Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. It's Infamous here with Battle of the Build. I was just coming back actually talking a little bit about the changes to the two-handed ability. I know a lot of people are like, rip Dizzy Swing, rip two-handed builds because of the nerf to at least the proposed change that are more than likely going to go live with Dizzy Swing losing its crowd control and then having access to things like off balance. Off balance is actually really good in terms of PvP, especially in no CP, because when you hit somebody who's off balance with a heavy attack in no CP, it actually gives you twice the amount of stamina return. So it's a really good way to create sustain in no CP for people, especially for stand builds, especially for two-handed builds. So it kind of gives you like a little bit of a risk reward where you can Dizzy Swing and then immediately go in for a heavy attack. And of course, because of the passive in two-handed, or is it follow-up, it says when you deal damage with a fully charged heavy attack, it says your next direct damage attack within 7 seconds deals an additional 10%. I often see a lot of people not utilize this passive, so I would actually think that it kind of synergizes really well, because you should be heavy attacking for the extra 10%. That extra 10% is huge on this particular build. Let's see if I can take a look at it. This is actually not that build, but on my Tavis Champion build, in terms of, where are we? Here we go. In terms of how much weapon damage I'm running on this build, this is actually, no, this is not the build. Oh, this is the heavy armored version, excuse me. The one that I want is, sorry about that. The one that I want is this one. So you can see on this build I'm running 7,400 effective weapon damage. So when you actually toss in that heavy attack, it's as if you are gaining an extra 740 weapon damage for the next ability. And so I watch people PvP, and I often see people not utilize heavy attacks on their 2H. You know, whether it's they're not remembering or whatnot, they're forgetting. That follow-up is one of the strongest passives, literally just for tossing in a heavy attack. And so it's actually a good synergy that you gain both the extra sustain from running things like Dizzy Swing in no CP, because in no CP the only real thing that you're going to get from off balance is of course the extra stamina return on a heavy attack, and then of course as well as if you're mag DK, then you're going to gain access to Power Lash. But in terms of I think it synergizes really well with two-handed abilities. I have no problem. I've played, especially with this particular build, I think I run like around 6k weapon damage, and so I do often come in for heavy attacks, one for the sustain, but also for the follow-up damage, because you gain literally like an extra 740 weapon damage to your flawless or to whatever your next direct ability is. It could be a light attack, it could be another Dizzy Swing, it could be the execute, etc. So there's numerous applications for that type of gameplay. I think it synergizes really well. I play a Stam DK and I use Wrecking Blow. I do not use, as you can see right here, it's not fully morphed. I actually morphed it specifically for this build to test it out, and it works absolutely just fine because we have access to things like Fossilize, and it works out just fine. I think the only classes that would have a problem would be like Necromancer, because most other, I think right now the only thing in the game that still offers any form of CC would be 2H, and that would be via shield charge, because Dual Wield does not have access to a stun. Bow next patch, Draining Shot is losing access to its stun, but nobody's going to use the other morph anyway, because this morph heals you. The other morph is not really worth utilizing just for the stun. So literally Dual Wield doesn't have a stun, Bow doesn't have a stun, and then next patch Dizzy Swing 2H is also actually not going to have a stun. What I would like to see with Carve is I'd like to see Carve be reworked into a, maybe call it like a hilt bash, and basically what you do is you take the opposite end of your weapon and you basically bash it into the person, and then basically that would cause them to take a knee. You know, they do that take a knee CC. I'd really like to see Carve. If Carve got gutted for next patch, you might as well make it useful, make it into literally just a crowd control ability. I think that would work out really well. It would be very thematic, especially for 2H, because that's typically what you would do. You either like hit someone with the side of your weapon, or you'd basically turn your weapon around and you'd be hitting them basically with the hilt of the weapon, and basically would knock them out, crowd control them. I think that'd be a great change, especially in light of the fact that Carve, Carve just got gutted. So there's kind of really no point in keeping the ability if that is the intention. I'd love to see that change next patch. Really looking forward to some of the changes coming up. Dots definitely needed to be nerfed, probably not as much as they did nerf them, at least on certain classes, namely I would say like the Warden, Magical Wardens. Dot was something that didn't need to be nerfed, as well as the dot for Magic and DK, especially because the builds are designed for attrition fighting. Doesn't make sense to remove a lot of the damage. In my opinion, I would have been happy losing the damage on Cripple if it would have given me back Major Expedition. I think that's really between the root and the Major Expedition on Cripple. I would have been happy to get rid of the damage on it, especially because I play melee Magic and Nightblade, and so I wouldn't have to run two abilities to do the exact same thing that one does. I think that would have been a much better change, and leave the other morph that doesn't root, remove the slow from it, and just make it does upfront damage, it does a dot, as well as giving you the sustain, and of course while slotted it also gives you the extra max magicka. I think that would have been a fine trade-off, so that the other morph, so that Cripple could actually have the Major Expedition back. I think that would have been an excellent change. In terms of 2H, I think 2H will be just fine. There's plenty of builds that you could run. I've got numerous builds on the Battle of the Build website that work both this patch and as well as the coming patch. I was theory crafting some builds for the coming patch that I'll be probably discussing either sometime later this week. It's been a busy beginning of the week, and it's not going to get any quieter for me, but looking forward to some gameplay. We'll be playing some ESO probably over the weekend. Feel free to stop by, check me out on Twitch at InfamousNYC. Thanks for watching.